Hello everyone, as we continue to deal with Shtayim Mikra Ve'echad Targum. Namely, if the Gemara says so explicitly, Le'olam Yashlim Adam Parshiyotavim Atzibor, we personally read the Parsha each and every week, above and beyond what we do in shul. I thought it would be appropriate to try to deal with what's the reason for this particular takana, and there are basically, in my opinion, 4 reasons for it. And let's begin. We've quoted already the Ravan, one of the Gdolei Ashkenaz, that came and said that this whole takana is only for people that won't be in shul, so that they don't miss the Parsha of the week totally. So the best case scenario is they're in shul and they hear it from a Sefer Torah with 9 others. But if they can't, second best is to read it on your own. In other words, for the majority of the Jewish people that go to shul, this whole podcast is irrelevant. However, his words were not accepted. Even he acknowledges that the minhag is against what he said, and indeed, it's paskin in Shulchan Aruch, Afapisha Adam Shomea, Kol Torah Kula Kol Shabbat B'tzibur, Chayav Likrot La'atzmo B'chol Shavua, Parshat Oto Shavua, Shnayim Mikra Ve'achad Targum. Even though you go to shul and you hear Kriyas Torah, this has to be done by you. In other words, this is distinct and different from Laining in shul. The Shevet HaLevi, Rav Levi Vosner, is able to say very explicitly that this is why the Rambam didn't want you to have any sort of doubt, and even though the Gemara says, Le'olam yashlim parshiyotavim atzibor, you shall always read the Parsha on your own, the Rambam formalized it as chayav likrot la'atzmo, you have to. So, assuming we have to, the reason number 1, which is the levush, kedei shehiyeh baki b'Torah, in order to be proficient in the 5 books of Moses. And he even gives a beautiful Rashi Tevot, V'ele shmot b'nei Yisrael, Vav Aleph Lamed Hey Shin Mem Vav Tav, spells out V'chayav Adam likrot Parsha Shnayim Mikra Ve'achad Targum, something that all b'nei Yisrael have to do. And indeed, the Trumat Hadeshen, Rav Yisrael Isserlin, says that according to Rabbeinu Hananel, that's said against Rabbeinu Simcha, that you can fill in what you missed up until Shmini Atzeret. It seems like this is totally different from what we do in shul. From this perspective, there are 2 different things. I quote, Kedei sheyeh tzibor ragil v'ma she'atzibor korin, so that when we hear it in shul, it won't be strange. We'll be proficient in the written Torah, and therefore when we hear it in shul, we'll be in familiar territory. So reason number 1 is, very simply, to learn the Torah shebichtav, the written Torah. Reason number 2, the Trumat Hadeshen brings Rabbeinu Simcha that says that if you didn't do it that week, you can make it up till Shmini Atzeret. According to that, there's an absolute fusion between what's done b'tzibur to what's done b'yachid, what's done communally to what's done personally. Namely, and I quote, the Ikar chiyuv de'itzrichuhu Rabbanan la'ashim parshiyotavim atzibur hainu, kedei shekol echad miYisrael yikra la'atzmo kol haTorah mirosh v'ad sof v'chol shana kemo she'osin hatzibur. There's the way we do it in shul, and there's something we do alone. What we do in shul is with many others, and we do exactly the same thing personally at home. ומשום הכי צריך לסיים ממש באותו היום שמסיימים בו הציבור, and therefore you have to finish exactly when the tzibur finishes. Namely, just like we finish the annual Torah reading in Shmini Atzeret, that is the cutoff point for each individual. If you want an illustration of this, picture your private Amidah versus the public Amidah known as the Chazin's repetition. Private Amidah we do alone, that's Shtayim Mikra, and then we do it b'tzibur together with the congregation in the reading of the Torah. Just like with candle lighting on Hanukkah, we have a candle lighting at home, and then we have a public one in shul. Just like Hallel, according to the Shulchan Aruch and many others against the Ramah, on the night of the Seder. We do it at home at the Seder, and then we do it together at shul during Ma'ariv. Reason number 3 is in the introduction to Sefer HaChinuch, where he basically says how important it is to learn Torah, and therefore he said our sages enacted to read the Torah every 3 days in the shul, לעורר לב האדם על דברי התורה והמצוות, to wake up the heart of the human being to the Torah and its commandments. And therefore, he said, our sages further enacted that we read it ourselves, כדי שישכיל בדברים יותר, וקראתו אותו בביתו. Not to wake you up experientially, but rather intellectually, you'll become smarter. In shul, it's an experiential waking you up. At home, it's an intellectual exercise. And I think that this can be meduyak in the words of the Rambam. When he formulates this obligation, he says, Afal pisha adam shomea kol haTorah kula b'chol Shabbat b'tzibur, even though a person hears all the parshas of the Torah in the congregation with 9 others, chayav likrot la'atzmo b'chol shavua v'shavua seder shel oto Shabbat Shnayim Mikra Ve'echad Targum. He has to read on his own. You hear in shul, but you read at home. Based on that, I believe, the Aruch HaShulchan says, the hachiyuv b'Torah shmiya v'halimud, kemo shomrim b'birkat ahava, lishmoa lilmod. And every single time we say, before Kriyat Shema, the bracha of Ahavat Olam or Ahava Rabbah, we say, V'tein b'libeinu, and given our hearts regarding Torah, Lishmoa, to hear, V'lilmod, to learn. V'hinei shashmiya, hi b'Shabbat misefer Torah kshera, ktuva kadat lekahalacha. The shmiya, the hearing, is done in shul from a kosher sefer Torah. V'lachein Yilmod mikodem b'chumash v'ya'aleh b'kodesh lishmoa misefer Torah. And therefore you learn beforehand with the chumash. Shul, as we've said many times, is reenacting the Sinai experience. Bima's in the middle, like our Sinai was in the middle, the Jewish people are around it. You have one person that lanes, that's Kivyachol, instead of God giving the Torah. You have one person receiving it, the guy who gets the Aliyah, Kivyachol in place of Moshe Rabbeinu receiving it. And then you have a Gabbai who is a representative of the Jewish people standing all around the Bima. That's Shmiyah, listening. As a matter of fact, maybe not with understanding. But when you're at home and you learn it, it's a different experience. It's not Shmiyah, it's Limud. It's not hearing, it's learning. And therefore it's so important not just to read it, but to actually go ahead and understand it. Therefore we add Targum, a translation. So today we gave 4 reasons for this takana of Shnayim Mikra Ve'echad Targum. One has been refuted, namely that it's only for people that don't go to shul. And the 3 reasons that are left are A, to be as proficient in the Torah, shebichtav, as we are in Torah Sheba'al Peh. Number 2, just like there's a Chazarat Hashatz, but a Midah, Belachash, so too we have a private learning of Torah and a public one. And number 3, shul is for the experiential. Home is for the intellectual.